You hear it before you see it, that low, heavy drone outside your window. You walk to the porch, and there it is, a fat black bee hovering inches from the same wooden beam it drilled into last spring. Perfect circle, sawdust below, and, deep down, this thing is eating your house alive. Here is what nobody tells you. A single Carpenter bee gallery, left alone for 3 seasons, can hollow out structural wood to the point where a woodpecker tears through your siding chasing the larva. The damage is not the hole you see. The damage is the foot-long tunnel behind it, and the $4 spray sitting in every hardware store in America will end the entire colony in under 60 seconds. The pest control industry has spent 40 years making sure you never connect those two facts. I want to show you something. The United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA, documented in Farmers Bulletin number 2104, published back in 1958, before the commercial extermination lobby got its hooks into household pest guidance. The bulletin laid out a Carpenter bee treatment so cheap, so effective that by the late 1970s it had quietly vanished from every updated federal household pest pamphlet. And if you already own a home, especially one built before 1980 with exposed cedar, pine, or redwood trim, this is written for you. The first time I pulled that 1958 bulletin out of a county extension office filing cabinet in rural Pennsylvania, I sat in my truck for 45 minutes reading the same 2 pages because I had just written a check to an exterminator for $320. He sprayed something around my eaves, told me to call back in 6 weeks, and the bees were drilling new holes by the next Saturday morning. That bulletin in my hand described exactly what he should have done, and it cost less than a gallon of gas. Let me back up, because to understand why this knowledge got buried, you need to understand what a Carpenter bee actually is, and why your exterminator does not want it dead on the first visit. Carpenter bees are not honeybees. They do not live in hives. Each female drills her own gallery into untreated softwood, usually on the south, east side of your house, where the sun warms the grain and she lays her eggs in a chamber at the back of that tunnel. The male hovers near the entrance, dive bombing anything that moves, but he has no stinger. He is theater. The female has the stinger, but she rarely uses it. The real damage is what happens underground, so to speak. Each generation of bees returns to the same wood, expands the gallery. Over 5 to 7 years, you can have tunnels running 2 and 3 feet deep through a single rafter. Cornell University's Department of Entomology ran a study in 1994 measuring Carpenter bee gallery expansion on untreated pine. The numbers were brutal. A single active gallery expanded by an average of 7 inches per breeding season. Multiply that by 4 bees on one fascia board, multiply that by 6 years of ignoring them, you are looking at structural compromise that a building inspector will flag the moment you try to sell the house. Now here is what your exterminator knows that he is not telling you. Killing the adults you see flying does almost nothing. The eggs and larvae are sealed inside the gallery behind a partition of chewed wood pulp. Surface spraying the entrance hole, which is what most professionals do on a standard visit, kills maybe 1, 2 adults and leaves the entire next generation untouched. That is why he tells you to call back in 6 weeks, because he knows they are coming back. Repeat visits are the business model. But the 1958 USDA Bulletin understood something different. It understood that you have to get the killing agent deep into the gallery itself, past the partition, all the way to the brood chamber. And it identified the cheapest, most effective delivery method in American hardware history. The bulletin recommended a fine dust insecticide, originally a boric acid and pyrethrum blend, puffed directly into each gallery entrance using a simple hand duster, not sprayed, dusted, because the female bee walks through the dust on her way in and out, carries it on her body, deposits it on every wall of the tunnel and every egg she lays. The colony eliminates itself within 1 breeding cycle, no repeat visits, no $300 service calls. Total cost in 1958 dollars was 22 cents per house. So what happened? In 1972, the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, was created, and pest control product registration was consolidated under a new federal framework. Between 1,974 and 1,981, a series of household pest bulletins that recommended specific cheap dust applications were quietly pulled from circulation, not banned, pulled. The replacements, written with heavy input from the National Pest Management Association, recommended professional inspection and treatment instead of self-application. The same active ingredients stayed legal. The instructions on how to use them at home disappeared. That is the part that made me stop trusting the system. The chemicals are still on the shelf. The method is still legal. The knowledge of how to combine them properly was simply removed from the public-facing documents. And the only people who retained that knowledge were the ones charging you by the visit. Now, if you already own a house and you are thinking this only applies to people building from scratch, stay with me, because this next part is specifically for you. Walk outside this weekend with a flashlight, get under your eaves, your fascia boards, your deck railings, the underside of your porch beams, any exposed wood that faces south or east. Carpenter bee entrance holes are perfectly round, about a ½ inch in diameter. You will almost always see a yellow or brown staining streak running down the wood below the hole. That stain is bee waste. It tells you the gallery is active. Mark every hole you find with a piece of blue painter's tape. Do not plug them yet. Plugging a hole before treatment traps the female inside. She will simply chew a new exit somewhere you cannot see, often 2 feet deeper into the same beam. Here is the technique, the 1958 bulletin laid out, adapted with what is sitting on the shelf at your hardware store right now. You need 3 things: a small plastic hand duster, the kind that looks like a squeeze bottle with a thin nozzle, usually $4 to $6. A container of insecticidal dust labeled for wasp and bee galleries. Most hardware stores carry one for under $5. And the active ingredient you want is either deltamethrin or a boric acid blend, and a tube of paintable exterior wood filler for sealing the holes after treatment. Late evening is when you do this. After sunset, when the females are inside the gallery and the males have stopped patrolling, you fit the duster nozzle directly into the entrance hole, 2 firm puffs. You will see a small cloud of dust come back out that is normal. It means the dust is coating the tunnel walls. Move to the next hole. Repeat. A house with 20 active galleries takes about 15 minutes total. Then you walk away. You do not seal the holes yet. The dust needs to be carried in and out by the bees for the next 72 hours. It spreads through the entire gallery and contacts the larvae. After 3 days, you come back and you seal every hole with the wood filler. Once the filler dries, you can paint over it. Penn State Extension confirmed in a 2011 trial that this exact dust and seal method achieved a 96% elimination rate on treated galleries within a single application. No second visit, no service contract. Total material cost for an average suburban home came in under $14. Compare that to the average professional Carpenter bee treatment package in the United States right now, which runs between $275 and $450 per visit, with most contracts requiring quarterly returns. Over 5 years, you are looking at $5,000 to $9,000 to solve a problem that $14 in one evening would have ended permanently. But here is the part of the bulletin that almost nobody outside that 1958 document ever talks about. The piece of the formula that the EPA replacement guides erased completely. The bulletin specified that for repeat infestations galleries that had been active for more than 2 seasons, where the female had already trained her offspring to return to the same wood dust alone, was not enough. The bulletin called for a follow-up treatment using a substance the USDA had been quietly testing since 1947. A substance that sits in almost every American garage right now and costs less than $4 a can. Citrus oil. Specifically, cold-pressed orange oil, the kind sold as a degreaser or a wood cleaner. The active compound is D-limonene, and the USDA's Bureau of Entomology had documented as far back as 1947 in an internal memo authored by entomologist Dr. Harold Bishop that D-limonene applied to softwood penetrated the grain and rendered it chemically unrecognizable to the female carpenter bee's egg-laying instinct. She would not return. She would not lay. The wood became invisible to her. That memo never made it into a public bulletin. It surfaced in 1989 when a researcher at Auburn University's School of Forestry was reviewing discontinued USDA correspondence. Found the original Bishop notes in a box of agricultural surplus documents. Auburn ran their own trial in 1991. The results matched Bishop's notes from 44 years earlier. D-limonene applied to treated galleries reduced reinfestation by 91% over a 3-year follow-up window. So here is what you do this weekend in your own home with what is already at the hardware store. After you have dusted your galleries and waited the 3 days before you seal the holes with wood filler, you take a small artist paintbrush, you paint pure orange oil straight, undiluted, directly into the entrance hole and around the surrounding wood in a 4-inch radius. You let it soak for 20 minutes, then you seal with the wood filler, then you paint over it. That is the full formula. The 1,958 dust application kills the existing colony. The 1,947 Bishop citrus oil treatment prevents the next generation from ever recognizing your house as a nesting site. Together, for under $20, you have done what the extermination industry charges thousands to do incompletely. I want you to understand what was taken from you. Farmers Bulletin 2104 sat in public libraries across America for 16 years. The Bishop memo on D-limonene was government research paid for with tax dollars, deliberately kept out of the household pest guides that replaced the older bulletins. A homeowner in 1962 could walk into any county extension office and learn this in an afternoon. A homeowner in 1992 could not. A homeowner today has to dig through archive boxes in rural courthouses to find what his grandfather knew for free. If you are the kind of person who believes that real extermination solutions have been quietly buried to protect someone else's service contract, you already know what to do next. Walk outside tomorrow morning, find the holes, mark them. Get the duster, the dust, the orange oil, the wood filler, do it yourself, save the $4,000. Sleep knowing the bees that have been eating your house since the day you moved in will be gone by the end of next week. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever heard of Farmers Bulletin 2104 before today? Have you ever seen the Bishop citrus oil memo referenced in any pest control guide your exterminator handed you? I read every comment on this channel, and the answers tell me which buried document to pull out of the archives next. Subscribe if you want to be part of what we are doing here. This is not a channel. This is a recovery operation for the household knowledge that got filed away the moment someone figured out how to charge you for it. Next week, I am pulling the 1,953 USDA Bulletin on Carpenter ants, the one that named the exact household substance that destroys their pheromone trail in under an hour, before the 1979 revision erased the entire section. You will want to be here for that one. And there is more coming behind it. I have a 1,961 leaflet from the Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station, document number 218. That lists the precise borate concentration that renders structural pine permanently unpalatable to wood-boring insects for the lifetime of the framing. That document was cited 11 times in academic literature between 1,962 and 1,974. Then it vanished from every commercial pest reference after the boric acid patents lapsed. The chemical industry pivoted to proprietary pyrethroids that required reapplication every 90 days. I have a 1,958 University of Georgia Extension circular signed by entomologist Dr. Harold Witherspoon that names the exact ratio of kerosene to pine tar that southern farmers brushed onto barn rafters every spring for 60 years to keep carpenter bees from ever drilling a single hole. Witherspoon died in 1981. His circular was pulled from the Active Extension catalog in 1983. I have the only photocopy I have ever seen, and it cost me $42 and a 6-hour drive to Athens to get it. Think about the stakes here for a moment. The average American homeowner spends between $300 and $1,800 per year on pest control contracts, according to the 2022 National Pest Management Association survey. Multiply that across 40 years of ownership, you are looking at $30,000 to $70,000 handed to a company to do what a $1 bag of boric acid powder, a 5-minute Saturday morning would accomplish permanently. That is a second car. That is a kitchen renovation. That is 2 years of a child state college tuition. Gone quietly in monthly increments small enough that nobody ever sits down and adds them up. And I can already hear the counter argument. Someone in the comments is going to say that modern pest control is regulated, licensed, insured, and safer than handling dusts and oils on your own. I want to address that directly. The boric acid powder I am telling you to use has been on the federal generally recognized as safe list since 1948. Orange oil D-limonene is approved for direct food contact in the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, Code of Federal Regulations Title 21. You can pour it on a salad. The exterminator who shows up at your door in the white truck is spraying a synthetic pyrethroid called bifenthrin that the EPA classifies as a possible human carcinogen, that the state of California requires a written disclosure for. Read the label on what they leave behind next time. Read it out loud to your spouse. Then ask yourself who exactly is being protected by the regulation argument. The carpenter bees do not care about your contract. They have been chewing through the same species of softwood for 40 million years, and they will keep chewing until something physically stops them.